indexes are a great vehicle, a great mechanism for anyone that is wanting to get into a particular ecosystem but don't know much about all the projects and anything else in there. Helps combine those communities together within those projects and is kind of like a discoverability mechanism for people. So you get into one particular index, such as the Cardano Startup Index. You can provide liquidity with just one single token within that index and get exposure to that basket of tokens within there.
What is going on, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central. I'm your host here, Fareed. In today's video, we're going to be touching on the Blueshift DEX and their brand new Cardano Startup Index. Now, as a part of today's video, I've got two awesome projects that are part of the index joining me, but I've also got a representative and a content creator representing the Blueshift DEX. So first and foremost, let me go ahead and bring him up. That is going to be none other than Pete from Learn Cardano. Pete, welcome aboard. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, this is the second time around. I think the last time you were joined by Igor, I learned a ton, so I'm excited to have you on. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring on the two projects that are also going to be joining us for today's chat. So first is going to be Wilson from the Paribus team, which they're aiming to bring lending and borrowing for synthetic assets as well as NFTs on multiple blockchains. Wilson, welcome aboard. How are you doing?
Doing great, Fareed. Good to be here with you, and we can talk about everything going on with Blueshift. It's going to be a good conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Now, let's go ahead and bring up the last member who's going to be representing Revuto, a subscription platform or subscription management platform, I should say, with the plans of going blockchain agnostic. So that is going to be Daniela, aka Danny from Revuto. How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for having us.
You are completely welcome. So maybe we kick things off with an overview of Blueshift. Again, I think this is going to kind of be the main driver of the actual index. So Pete, give us a refresher. What is Blueshift actually doing? I know you guys are doing quite a few different things. You guys are messing around with portfolios, indexes, and you guys also maintain bridgeless swaps. So what is going on with Blueshift? And then what is going on with the actual startup index?
Yeah, that's right. So we are a portfolio-based DEX built on Milcometer C1, and we're growing the ecosystem now by adding new portfolios to the Blueshift decentralized exchange. And this brand new one that we're bringing in is the Cardano Startup Index. So we've been looking around the ecosystem for projects that are wanting to potentially go cross-chain, are interested in that, or coming into the Cardano ecosystem from other chains, and now want to grow in the ecosystem itself. So we wanted to have that representation on Blueshift and track its growth over time. And this Cardano Startup Index is perfect. We've had lots of people knock on our door to come into this index, and we have a couple more actually lined up. So hopefully we can get them in at a later date when they're all ready. But we're pretty excited about launching this one. And once this one gets launched, we're going to help all these projects that are in the index go cross-chain as well. So as we grow into different ecosystems, grow on Polygon, grow on Arbitrum and Optimism as well, we're going to take Cardano and open up liquidity from all these different points and hopefully see Cardano DeFi flourish.
I really love to hear that. I think one thing that has kind of been on my mind as of late has been just that interoperability and interconnections between chains. I know that there's been a lot of buzz and a lot of chat surrounding Midnight, which is aiming to also bring interoperability in other networks within the Cardano ecosystem. So I'm definitely behind the mission. And for anybody who maybe wants to just find out a little bit more about Blueshift, you can head over to the official website, which is available at blueshift.fi. I'll go ahead and leave the link to that down below as a part of today's video description. Now, Pete touched on one aspect of it, which is going to be the indexes or the indices, but they're also a decentralized exchange. Again, they're going to be going cross-chain. And then we've got liquidity portfolios, farming and staking, as well as an analytics dashboard. So thank you for the insight or excuse me, for the introduction there, Pete. Let's maybe jump over to some of the other guests to kind of hear a little bit more about what they're doing. Again, I believe that Wilson and Danny from Revuto are going to be a part of the index itself. So I'll turn it over to maybe Danny to kind of kick us off. Do you mind explaining what Revuto is and how you guys are aiming to potentially leverage this particular index?
Yeah, sure. Well, Revuto is a subscription management app that is on the Cardano blockchain right now, and we have this Cardano native token, which is basically a building block for our service. That is basically managing your subscriptions. As we see that subscriptions are basically everywhere these days, and just seem to be growing in terms of what is being expected from us, we see that this is something that people are going to need to get in control of, decentralized finance, RealFi, DeFi, basically having a understanding of what it is you're spending, and maybe an app where you get notifications, you get the option. Are you going to approve this subscription every month? Are you going to block it? Are you going to maybe snooze it? We bring cryptocurrency as an option for payment for these subscriptions. So if you're using your streaming service or anything else that uses a debit card, we offer a virtual debit card that will enable you to pay for these subscriptions and manage them in the process. Because basically we see that as you have these subscriptions, it's still your money. And it should be your decision as to whether or not you're going to approve this subscription every month. And when you use the cryptocurrency to do this, you can basically earn rewards, cash back, and everything else by using that as your form of payment. And another thing is we have, referral program, and basically, we want to encourage people to use this, but we also want to bring the world of crypto to the non-crypto audience. And that's something that we think we can do, since we have a real use case that, is subscriptions, which people have whether or not they are into cryptocurrency or not. And while we are on Cardano, we also see the great potential for going cross-chain, because the more you are out there, the more people are going to know about you, and the bigger and more successful your project can be. So we're really very optimistic with this partnership with Blueshift and what opportunities it will bring for us in our project and for other projects that have different use cases.
Yeah, what I like about what you guys are doing is you guys, I think, are number one, of course, helping people to save on their subscription. I can definitely vouch that I've got subscriptions that run kind of like in the background that I'm not always paying attention to. And I think to be reminded of that is a great thing. Now, moving forward, what I've noticed with just businesses in general is that they're all taking a subscription-based approach, right? I think back a couple of years ago where, you would pay for something one time and you would have a particular product, but now it seems like everything is done on a subscription basis, to where, again, you've got, maybe 10, 15 separate subscriptions that you have to manage on your own. And if you're not doing that diligently, you could potentially be or getting charged for things, without you actually being aware. And so that is really cool. And again, the fact that you guys are doing that and allow for people to pay with crypto, I think is also another awesome aspect of what you guys are doing. So thank you there for the introduction. Let's turn it over to Wilson to talk about Paribus. Now, I've covered Paribus here quite a bit. We got to actually sit down together with Dennis as well last year, but for the community here, do you mind explaining what Paribus is? And again, what your thoughts are surrounding the Cardano index?
For sure. So definitely good to be on and speak with your community again. You've done a great job in covering Paribus and talking about all the things that we've been up to for the past 2 years now. And, just to quickly summarize it, Paribus is a cross-chain borrowing and lending protocol with a unique selling point of using different types of assets. So exotic assets as collateral for loans. So that'll come down to the form of NFTs, LP positions, metaverse lands. So we have a very diverse set of offerings that we will be giving to the community for things that they can use as collateral for loans. And this really the purpose of that is to unlock liquidity that has been stored in certain areas that is really not being utilized in a way that we think is reaching its full potential, essentially. And when we have everything in place, which, you know, we have some good updates coming soon, which will kind of tell our community, you know, some of the things that we've been up to. You know, we have a lot of progress on the NFT module. As soon as that is in place, we'll be able to generate loans based off of NFTs. And you know, the good thing, NFTs have been increasing a lot. It's, you know, NFTs in general are kind of like leveraged. So, you know, the price of the NFT can go up or down in terms of ETH or in terms of, you know, ADA, things like that. And that's one aspect of it, but then the value of the underlying, you know, token can fluctuate as well. So, you know, we've seen some increases recently in NFT overall, and it's been a good sign, positive sign for us. And, you know, we're working on a lot of things. So the things with the Blueshift Cardano index is really exciting for me personally. You know, we're quite aligned with the whole idea of interoperability. It's been a core tenet of Paribus since the very beginning. And, you know, we have a really big understanding of, you know, just, you know, not being, you know, siloed into any specific type of blockchain, because we think that crypto is bigger than any one blockchain, even though we do favor Cardano's, you know, quite heavily, and we want to be building for them. The main you know, tenet of, you know, of Bitcoin, of the whole reason why we're here, is to have open source, to have interoperability, and you know, connecting to like the Cardano index makes a lot of sense for us, because we have a big push for interoperability, and we can help put PBX and Paribus in front of more people, which will help you know, everyone who's interested in seeing our vision.
Wonderfully said. I think a few things that you just touched on there that I kind of want to quickly highlight is your guys' passion for interoperability. I know you guys were building on, I want to just say Ethereum initially. You guys had staking and things there. And then you guys most recently actually launched your PBX token on Cardano. I know that, you know, in the past couple of months, your community here just within Cardano has grown immensely. And it's been really cool for me to kind of watch that transition over. Now, I believe you guys also have the protocol live. I think it's V1 available on Arbitrum, where there is, I believe, lending and borrowing for a few assets right now. And of course, as the protocol matures and grows, there's going to be additional features brought on. As you mentioned there, I know there's a lot of hype and anticipation surrounding your upcoming DAO, as well as the NFT module, right? I think the biggest thing for me there is the fact that it allows for you to basically tap into that liquidity, right, within your NFT itself. A lot of times people hold super valuable NFTs, but they're not able to put that to work for them because, again, they're not able to unlock that liquidity. So a really cool mission that you guys have in a really cool project in terms of what you guys are providing in terms of utility. Now, let's maybe turn things over to Pete. You know, so with this index, there's been kind of like a race for index protocols, right? We've got Maze, we've got Matera. I believe there's also Linkage Finance. You know, could you maybe just touch on just the importance of an index protocol or just indexes alone? But then could you also maybe as a follow-up touch on why Paribus, why Revuto, and then there's two other projects as well, right? Now, unfortunately, they're not able to join us. I believe there's Noom and then the Jet Alliance. But could you maybe touch on, you know, what you guys saw with these particular projects in terms of bringing them onto the index?
Okay, so I'll start with the other two, with all the projects. So these projects all had goals of cross-chain and interoperability, and they're fledgling projects that are just growing in the Cardano ecosystem. So we wanted an index that would represent that growth within the Cardano ecosystem. We have an existing one already for projects that were really well established, which were NMaker, Copy, Wi-Fi, and the Blues tokens itself. So that one was a representation for something that was already big, thriving, had big communities. But this one here, we wanted to see as projects and protocols launch and more users get adopted into the ecosystem, we want to see this as an indicator for that growth within the Cardano ecosystem. Now, to touch on what you said earlier, why indexes? Indexes are a great vehicle, a great mechanism for anyone that is wanting to get into a particular ecosystem but don't know much about all the projects and anything else in there. Helps combine those communities together within those projects and is kind of like a discoverability mechanism for people. So you get into one particular index, such as the Cardano Startup Index. You can provide liquidity with just one single token within that index and get exposure to that basket of tokens within there. So it's a really simple, easy mechanism just to be able to get that kind of exposure into an ecosystem that you may not know much about. And this is really important for interoperability plays. So someone from Polygon might not know all these projects, might just be discovering and just want to dip their toes into it. So being able to buy an index token of the Cardano Startup Index itself, which may be trading on a different chain, will allow them to get exposure and track that performance of the Cardano ecosystem there. So it's a nice, really nice mechanism to go through and do that type of trading within the indexes.
Yeah, I think one thing that sticks out to me in terms of the benefits of these indexes is that it's a win-win for both parties, right? So when you look at it from a project standpoint, it gives them obviously more exposure. It makes it easy for people to potentially pick up some of their assets or some of their tokens. But then, as you mentioned, from a user's perspective, if somebody doesn't want to have to do all the hard digging, they're able to basically jump into a basket all at once, right? And it also, I think, helps in terms of diversification, which I think applies just all across the board, even just in regular stocks, right? Where you don't want to bet all of your basket on one particular token or one particular protocol. You just never know what is going to happen. So I really like the fact that, again, this is a win-win for not only the projects, but for people leveraging these portfolios. Now, I am looking at a couple of these, and I'm going to maybe just throw one more quick question back at you, Pete, here. So right now, live on the actual Blueshift platform, we've got the meme index, Cardano index, 3-port, multi-chain, Blueshift, and just a few other ones here, which again is really awesome to see. Is the startup index live? I don't see it here. If it's not, when can we expect it to go live?
No, it is not live yet. The Milcometer team are working on a couple of rollouts for V2 of Milcometer. So they've got some features that they need to deploy, and that is supposed to be all rolled out by the end of November. So after that, they promise they'll focus on the next part of adding in the additional tokens that are needed to do the Cardano Startup Index. So it's a protocol level change that needs to be done. All the validators need to have those particular tokens enabled so that assets can be moved between Cardano and Milcometer C1. So once that's done, we can start the Cardano Index. All the projects can start opening their doors, and people can start trading the Cardano Startup Index tokens.
Thank you for that. Let's maybe kind of shift the conversation back over to Wilson and Danny here. I want to maybe pose the both of them, and maybe we kick off with Wilson this time. What additional chains are you looking to get broader exposure into, and then potentially why?
So Paribus in general, our big focus right now has been Arbitrum. That's where our version 1 of our platform is, and that's one of the ones that we think it's one of the ecosystems that has a lot of growth potential, and it has some similarities to Cardano in its focus on having lower transaction costs. That's a big thing that's kind of plagued Ethereum for a very long time. That's something that we don't want to have as a main focus for our platform, because gas fees are, they suck, and we don't want to have that be a huge deterrent to people who are participating with our platform. So that's obviously a huge focus. Outside of that, one of the places that we want to go to is Base. Base is, we know what it's about, and we think that it has a lot of growth potential, especially in the US. And as Coinbase itself becomes more solidified, has certain rulings that establish it as one of the go-to exchanges, we think that it's going to be a good fit for Paribus in general. So we have plenty other options that we're keeping on the table. We want to be able to expand to anywhere that is making sense for Paribus, and we're not closing the door on any chain in particular. Really.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear. In terms of Arbitrum, again, by no means am I an expert on some of these other protocols. Obviously, I focus here on Cardano, but I know that there's a ton of liquidity, but then there's also a thriving DeFi ecosystem. So to
Yes.
potentially see, Paribus have some of that market share, I think could be huge. And then, of course, other ecosystems or networks as just the space grows along. In terms of base, I know that there's been some pretty big pieces of news surrounding Binance and their founder and the fact that, there were some things going on there, which I personally think is actually going to open up a huge opportunity for Coinbase, I believe, who's actually running or operating the base network as well. So I think that would be an awesome opportunity. Now, let's jump over into Danny and just kind of see what she's excited about or what the Revuto team is excited about. But then I want to shift back over to Pete to maybe just touch on what additional networks we might see Blueshift reaching out to in the future. So first and foremost, Danny, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Revuto started off as this crypto project definitely 2.5 years ago with the ICO. But as our project is looking to expand, and as we're looking to expand our user base, we realize that we're always going to be supporting DeFi. But what we need to do now is have this custodial wallet for our new users. And as we have this opportunity to bridge Cardano assets to other blockchains, we really see it as an opportunity for us to expand the market for our token, not only for our token, but for our business itself, for our product itself. And this is something that is really exciting because it gives us, again, that opportunity to be a part of these promising startups that are included in the index, and in this new opportunity, but also to really get ready for the launch of our product, which is upcoming. Again, as we have something that is looking to solve real world issues and has a real world use case, we realize that being everywhere that we can be is really an essential aspect of our presence at this point in time, and the more you're out there, it's not, I think what we need to see, it's not just about where you're listed, it's about who knows about you. And with opportunities like this one, we can see that it's not a matter of being on every possible centralized exchange. It's more or less a matter of having a product and having people know about you. And this is something that is really promising for us. And we're looking forward to, continuing to be a part of it and continuing to see our project expand because of this participation.
Now, there is a question. I probably should have asked this earlier when you introduced the protocol, but what kind of platforms in terms of subscription management are you guys dealing with? So for example, are you guys dealing with Spotify, Netflix? Could you maybe give the viewers an idea or a better understanding as to what platforms you're dealing with?
Sure, great questions. Basically, anything that you pay for a subscription with using a debit card or a bank card. So basically, we are offering the virtual debit card, which you have control over, which you are going to get notifications about. You give the authorization. Do you want to, approve the subscription, block the subscription, snooze it for a period of time? It's basically for anything, any subscription that requires you to put in a card number to pay for. Basically, our card is the card that you're going to be able to manage. You're going to be notified and you have control with your Revuto app in the palm of your hand. So it's not like you're going to be missing these subscriptions anymore. It's not like you're going to be, like you were mentioning, having a subscription that you forgot about. Or maybe there's a free trial trap. They always make you put in the card number in order to get signed up for it. Yes, there's some legislation in different countries and areas where now that's not technically legal anymore on the part of those offering the service, but we know that it's a huge source of revenue, and even if they're not supposed to be doing it, they're probably going to be other additional free trial traps that they develop. And we want to just say, guys, you don't have to fall into those traps anymore. When you have something that you're in control of, it's not the same thing as the old-fashioned credit card or the the old-fashioned debit card, which, you know, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but I would say 20 years ago, they told us never use a debit card to pay for anything, because once you do that, you don't have control of your funds anymore. And yet we see this. If you don't have a credit card, lots of people are using their debit cards, which are, you know, basically just depleting their funds from their, you know, their primary bank account. And we basically just want to say, guys, you don't have to do this anymore. Even if you don't have a credit card, there are other financing options, and this is something that we can provide. It's something you get to top up. It's something you have control over. You know, you want to put 100 euros, $100, 100 pounds, 100 whatever, you know, your currency is onto your card. To have that, that's something you should have control over, and not a subscription that's going to be just doing auto renewal without you even knowing about it, because, you know, that's their business model, but you don't have to be the victim of that. You need to be in control of what you're using. That's what we really want, to make sure that everyone has its control over what they're spending, because it's your money.
Yeah, and what I like about that is that's also kind of like the thesis with blockchain, right? Putting the power back into the people's hands and having everything be open and transparent and visible and out in the open. So again, I think it's a really awesome value proposition. Let's turn back over to Pete. Moving forward, you know, what additional ecosystems are you eyeing? But then I've also got another question, and maybe you want to tackle this one first. So I'm looking right now again at some of the indexes or indices, and I see that, you know, the allocations are split up differently. You know, what are the plans for this particular index? How are you guys splitting that up, and like how are you coming to these numbers in terms of, you know, the proportions for each protocol within the index?
So first off, the splits are done depending on which particular index. So if you look at that stablecoin index, all that stable assets were provided by Cello, and then the additional provided by Mod. So at the initial creation of that, we talked to all the partners and liquidity providers, and we have the allocation set at that creation point. As for the other indexes, such as the Cardano index or the Cardano startup index, again, that's set by the parameters that we put in when it's created. So normally we have that as an equal weighting between each of the projects. So they're providing liquidity at a certain value and amount, and we do that equal distribution between all the projects. So they all have like that equal weighting across the portfolio.
Cool. So moving forward, any other ecosystems that you guys are eyeing?
Indeed. So we are already connected with Algorand A1, Carver, and Polygon. So that's where the DEX actually interacts with at the moment. And you can do cross-chain swaps, for example, between Polygon and Cardano C1, Milcomda C1. So you can swap Matic for any of the index tokens at the moment. So it's pretty cool how it works. Now, the other chains that we are going to launch on, we are in talk with lots of them, but we do plan to hit all of the Ethereum L2 chains as soon as we can. But it's a matter of launching the indexes on the existing chains that we're connected to first. And I have to tell you, it is quite a process of talking with all the projects on there, gathering which projects are interested, talking with the foundations for each one of those chains, getting their support. It's a mammoth process of getting it all done. So in terms of when, I can't say when, but we do plan to hit every EVM chain that we can, Ethereum L2 chain that we can, and then whatever other opportunities that are presented to us, such as whatever other chain Milcomda decide to launch on as well. I know I can't say because they are still planning on those in the background, but once they do launch, we will launch along with them and take the projects that we have incorporated on Cardano, Milcomda C1 to those chains as well.
Yeah, when you just mentioned having to deal with the projects and then the foundations, like a light bulb went off into my head. Like I didn't even think about that, right? So like you have
Oh,
to go into
it's hard.
yeah, I mean you've got to go into a brand new ecosystem and you're kind of like knocking on everybody's door. But again, I think the value proposition and the exposure is really awesome. So again, I know things are still super early, but like what kind of indexes are you guys maybe potentially eyeing when it comes to those new ecosystems? Again, with the startup index in Cardano, that makes sense to me. Could there potentially be other startup indexes for other ecosystems? Like what is maybe kind of like the game plan when you're dealing and talking to some of these projects in terms of like vetting them to see what kind of index they would fit in best?
Yeah, so I can talk about the Polygon one more because that's a little bit more mature with our planning. But there's a lot of GameFi within the Polygon ecosystem. So there's a lot of games that are built on there and a lot of really strong ones that have really good communities. So potentially launching a GameFi specific one and also a DEX DeFi one as well. So those two are probably the first two that we may be launching on the Polygon side of things because of their ecosystems and communities, which are so strong over there. We did also have a lot of work in the Algorand space as well, but the market conditions aren't that great at the moment. But when they get a little bit better, we'll be reapproaching that one. And we had a really good ecosystem one there, a broad ecosystem one of all the really strong projects that we're building on Algorand. And fingers crossed we can get that one launched again too.
Yeah, the market sentiment has definitely been turning around over the last month. If anybody's been watching the crypto markets, I think that the Blueshift indexes are going to be poised for tons of growth, especially as we start to see liquidity rotating from some of the larger cap tokens, for example, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, down over into the altcoins, but then the actual ecosystem or the native tokens within those particular ecosystems, right? And so again, I'm just really thinking like forward, once we get that altcoin season, somebody potentially coming in and saying, I just wanted to scoop up everything. I want a little bit of exposure to everything. And therefore I can just head straight over to Blueshift and just purchase a ecosystem index, a startup index, depending on whatever fits their sort of investment criteria. So again, really, really cool to hear. And of course, we wish you the best of luck with all those conversations. And one last thing, and then I want to turn it over to Wilson and Danny for closing thoughts and what we can expect from their projects. Are you guys collaborating with content creators in other ecosystems in order to kind of get the word out, just like we're doing here within Cardano?
We do indeed. We have a list of content creators that we engage with. Probably strongest in the Algorand ecosystem because we worked a lot with the Algorand projects there to grow. And now we're just starting on the engagement on the Polygon side of things because of the growth and not the growth, but the formation of those particular indexes that we have. So we didn't want to jump the gun too early and say, hey, everyone, start covering these topics when we didn't have concrete creation of those particular indexes. But we're getting there. And hopefully in the new year, we'll see those content creators create pieces around what Blueshift is doing on the Polygon side of things.
Really cool to hear. And of course, you're a content creator yourself, so I'm sure that we'll be getting more and more content from you surrounding Blueshift as well. Okay, we are at the 30-minute mark. Again, I want to say thank you to Pete, Wilson, and Danny. As we get ready to wind things down, I'll maybe just turn it back over to Wilson and Danny just to kind of get their future vision for their project. And again, just anything that they may want to share here with our community in terms of what they're bringing to the table. So maybe we'll kick this one off with Danny first, and then we'll close out with Wilson.
Yeah, at this point, I would say exposure is key. And with opportunities like this, we see that there is more exposure for our project. So it's not just about marketing, which is something that is in our plan as we get closer to our product launch, but it's also about creating that interest, right? Creating that enthusiasm for a project that is basically designed to, basically embody everything that decentralized finance and blockchain is about. And, it's a really great opportunity to be a part of this blockchain network, I would say, and just to bring the product to the world, to change the world. And again, to have that use case that is something that we think will bring a lot of people to our product and also to crypto. So it's a great opportunity.
Cool deal. And for anybody maybe looking to join the Revuto community, how can they do that?
You can download our app, which is available on, Google Play, the App Store, and Huawei App Gallery. And you can also follow us on social media to get a little bit more understanding about what opportunities are available and what you need to know about our project. We're everywhere: X, Facebook, Telegram, you name it.
Thank you very much. And I will definitely be leaving the links to everything Revuto down below as a part of today's video. Wilson, your turn. What can we expect from Paribus moving forward?
Well, as we're getting close to a new year, we definitely have big plans. I think one of the big things coming out, it will be the NFT module. We have currently our forum for governance and the governance related transition into the DAO. That tech is being audited currently, and we're going to have some pretty exciting releases coming out early next year. And I think we're in a very great position. We're fortunate to have the Cardano index have PBX included, which will really just position Paribus to be in a great place for the upcoming bull market, which is going to happen very soon. And everyone who dropped off and forgot about crypto will be calling you, and you'll have a lot of questions to answer. But we're looking forward to having a great year, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. And I've got to ask you the same thing for anybody looking to join the Paribus community. How can they go ahead and join?
The easiest way is just on social media. So really, our X account is very strong. Come and check us out. Telegram, Discord. That's the easiest way to see what we're about, interact with our community right there.
Thank you both very much. And just as a reminder here for the viewers, I do want to say that, again, we are missing the Noon project as well as the Jet Alliance. Both of them are going to be included as a part of the Cardano Startup Index. I'll go ahead and leave the links to their platforms down below as well. Now, last but not least, we've got Pete. Any closing thoughts or comments that you just want to share here with the community surrounding Blueshift and this brand new index?
We're here to bring interoperability to Cardano. We want to break down those barriers and join these communities. I know we are so siloed in our blockchains, whether you're on Arbitrum, Optimism, Ethereum, Polygon, or Cardano, there are those barriers and people just stay in their particular lanes. We want to break down those barriers. We want more mass adoption. We don't want these siloed communities, and we want people to be able to swap and just get into various projects that are building some cool and amazing things out there. And if we can do that in the next bull run, I'll be absolutely so ecstatically happy.
Nice way to wrap us up there. That will do it. Again, I want to thank Pete, Danny, and Wilson joining not only the Cardano Index, but really kind of just spreading the word. And again, big thanks to Pete for setting this up. This was definitely not an easy call to book. I know that we're all around, the world. And so I definitely want to, again, just say thank you guys for joining me here. Now, for you, the viewer, if you guys did appreciate today's deep dive into the Cardano Index as well as Revuto in Paribus, I would definitely be thankful if you guys could hit that like button. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more content like this surrounding all the builders within Cardano now spreading out, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions for Blueshift, for Pete, for Danny or Revuto, or for Wilson and Paribus, then please make sure to go ahead and leave those down below. That said, and as always, we'll catch you guys in the next video.